Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Ask from the I'm joining us today, estate agent of ReMax. Welcome back.
Great to be back.
Awesome. And ask the expert on WL.com questions about problems you can certainly live. Okay, here we go. Question.
Prepare and how there's several. First, obviously the home. It's good. Don't overdo it with the scents though, because some people are allergic. So just make sure it has a nice clean smell. Open the blinds, turn the lights on, and make sure that when people come in the house, it's light and airy, because people like to see open spaces and they don't want to feel like they're in a closet or a cave all the time. The other thing that you'll need to do in preparing for an open house is make sure you advertise it. Now, if you've got an agent, if you've employed an agent to sell your house, obviously they should be advertising the property. If you're doing it by owner, make sure you post it on social media sites like Facebook and maybe even Craigslist. I would have somebody. I'd have somebody there with you too, so that you're not there alone when
safety first.
Yes, absolutely. When consumers are coming in, so light and airy. Make sure it smells good and clean. All the windows, the window blinds are turned up, are open. Make sure all the light bulbs work, and have fun with it.
So all the lights on and natural light coming in.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you recommend taking stuff like family photos off the walls and using artwork? I've heard of that tip before. Is that true?
There's a lot of truth to that, and you don't have to take all of your family photos down and artwork, but if it's excessive, then you want to take that down, because I promise you, and guys, we live in the South. And everybody knows everybody, and they want to know what's going on. So when they walk in the house, they're looking at your photos, and the truth is, you want them looking at the positive attributes of the house.
Right. And they want to envision themselves as the owners of the house and not someone else's family that might occupy. Okay.
Right. They need to be looking at the kitchen and not the baseball picks from last weekend.
All right. Do you help stage homes to sell?
The answer, it's funny this is a question today, because I just actually had a home staged and that had previously been on the market and did not sell. And we went in and we staged the home, and the first person that looked at it bought it.
Oh, wow.
So staging to me is very critical to getting the home sold. And yes, I have an accredited stager on staff. Her name's Robin Burkhart.
Okay.
And we have some connections with an Amy West, who helps us with staging as well.
Great. So do they take down the family photos?
They, a lot of times when Robin goes in, she will remove a lot of the family photos, and some less is best, less is more a lot of times. So you want a minimal amount of items in the house. We'll bring Amy in a lot of times because the house is vacant or it does not have enough furnishings. So we'll bring Amy in to bring furniture and pieces of art and stuff in to accent the colors of the property.
So Amy's part of your moving on team?
She's a contractor that we use.
Okay.
Yes.
And so most of the homes you list, you do a typical staging?
We always go through the home and advise the seller. Yes, we give staging advice, advising the seller of what they should do to get it ready for market. You only have one chance to make a good first impression, so stage it so that when that person walks in, they go, wow, and they're excited about their new property.
Right, great, okay. Next question, I want to buy a home for myself and a home for rental income. Any advice?
Great move. Buying a home for yourself and rental income. I'm assuming you're talking about two different properties or two different homes. And you know, buying a home for yourself is a good long-term investment. It's a great way to build wealth. And buying the rental property is also going to generate income. There's some caution, there's some things that I would caution you on buying a rental property, and that is you want to make sure that one, you're financially capable of affording that property if you do not have a tenant. and but it's a great move to buy a rental property along with, especially if you're looking at a duplex or a multifamily unit where you can be just next door.
Yeah. So is it good to take care of both of those at the same time?
As a, what do you mean?
Well, it sounds like they're wanting to buy now, so buying a home and buying a rental property.
Buy them together.
Right.
Okay. You know, if you could buy them together, that would be great, especially if it's a multifamily or duplex type situation. You could probably roll that into one loan if you're doing a loan, and so that you could offset your actual living expense by the rental income.
Okay, great. We have a few questions on our Facebook Live. I'm going to go ahead and ask those to
Okay.
you. Let's see. Richard Hammock. Hi, Richard. All right. What's the credit rating needed to finance a home, rather convention or FHA?
Credit rating, if you're speaking of credit score, typically under an FHA's minimum credit score is 580. However, a lot of the local banks are going to want to see a 620 or higher. FHA guidelines do allow 580, but most banks want to see a 620 or higher, and that is also the case for conventional 620 or higher.
All right. And Denisha's telling me hi. Hey, Nishi, how you doing, girl?
Hi.
All right. Jay Brooks, how can a young fellow like myself get into the real estate business? With multiple houses, of course, he says.
Wow, sounds like you already own some property, which is incredible, especially if you're a young guy, because a lot of people wait till later in life before they actually buy their first house. To get into the real estate business, to get a real estate license, you can go to the Mississippi Realtor Institute on Lakeland Drive. There you can take a course. You can do it online or in the classroom. There are other providers as well that you can do online, and some for as low as just over $100. You can take 2 courses, get 60 hours of coursework in, sit for the real estate exam, and if you pass the real estate exam, you can get a license with a broker and sell real estate.
Okay.
It's not hard. I made it. I'm here.
And he's an expert. So, Jay, go for it. Good luck. Okay. Next question from the Ask the Experts page is, should I replace my roof before putting my home on the market?
You know, I get that question a lot. Not necessarily on roofs, but whether it's roofs, carpet, flooring, paint. Should I paint? Should I replace the broken boards on my fence? And my answer to that is pretty generic. I would. And the reason why is because a lot of consumers today are visual, not visionary. And when they look at a property, they can't see it for what it could be. They see it for what it is.
Okay.
And so when they're looking at your property and they see that the roof is aged and needs to be replaced, one of the big issues is they're thinking that, oh, that roof may cost me $20,000, and the truth is maybe it was only $8,000. So yes, I would go ahead and get the roof replaced. That way you can appeal to the most number of buyers.
Okay. I recently flipped a house in Clinton. I'm considering your buy it now deal to save time, but I know the value and I'm expecting top dollar. Do you think I should list it first?
Well, I'd love to buy it if it's a good buy. So yes, contact me after the show, and I'd love to talk to you about it. If you're wanting top dollar, though, my suggestion is to actually list it. Use an aggressive marketing platform and get as many buyers as you can interested in the property. And with more interest in the property, the more likely you are to get top dollar.
Okay. I've heard a lot about these grants for first-time homebuyers in Mississippi. What are the different options, courses of action, and requirements needed to apply for one of these? Does credit matter for the grants?
It's a very detailed question, and I'm going to have a long-winded answer for this, so just bear with me. First, I'm going to reference the Mississippi Home Corporation. They provide different down payment assistance programs and to help consumers, whether it's first-time home buyers or repeat buyers, in being able to purchase a home. Credit scores vary depending on the program. Mississippi Home Corp has, and thanks for submitting this question in advance because there's a lot of detail here. The Mississippi Home Corp has a program called Smart Solutions, which will help with up to 3.5% of a buyer's down payment.
Okay.
And with that 3.5% down payment assistance, as you can, it's actually a second mortgage, and it's paid back over a 10-year period. There are some minimum credit scores for that, 620 or better. You have to have a minimum credit score of 620 or better to qualify for that grant or that down payment assistance. And you also have to be, it's not just for first-time home buyers, so anybody can use that. And the household income limit would need to be $95,000 or less. There's a second option. It's called the MRB7. This is my favorite. It's my second favorite. My favorite is the one for teachers, and we'll get to that. MRB7 is a $7,000 down payment assistance program where Mississippi Home Corp gives the buyer $7,000 toward the purchase of their house. As long as you stay in that house for at least 10 years, then you don't have to pay that money back.
Nice.
So it's free money if you stay there for at least 10 years. And then we have what's called the HAT program, and this is a program for teachers. And teachers can get up to $6,000 toward the purchase of a house. If they live in the county, they buy a house in the county that they're going to teach in. But there are some limits there. They have to teach in specific schools, and the only schools designated currently is JPS and Canton. So if you're going to teach in Canton or JPS, you can get a $6,000 down payment assistance, provided you live in that county that you're teaching in.
That's a wonderful incentive.
And there are no income caps on that, and so if your significant other, spouse, whatever, just say they make $250,000 a year, you still would be able to qualify for the $6,000. There's no income limits.
That's great, as long as you're a teacher and you live in the JPS or Canton County School District.
You have to live in the county,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to commit a 3-year commitment to work at that JPS or Canton, which are the two identified schools currently, systems.
Great. Okay.
Oh, one more thing.
Okay.
Almost forgot.
Yes. Did we answer all of those questions in the one question?
I think we answered a lot of them. I want to give two websites
Okay.
that will help with this because there's a lot of details here. One is mshomecorp.com. That's the Mississippi Home Corp. mshomecorp.com. And a second site, I actually checked it before we came on today, and there were 13 available grants or down payment assistance programs, and that site is downpaymentresource.com, downpaymentresource.com.
Okay, check those out. Okay, thanks, Lee. Okay, what are the most important things to know when looking to invest in a rental property?
I invest in rental property myself, and I will tell you the things that I look at first. One is, first thing is, can I afford the property? Is there an immediate need for rental property in that area? A key thing to look for is make sure you're buying a rental property in an area where you can rent. Some neighborhoods, some municipalities have restrictions on whether or not rental can be in that area, that
Covenant
neighborhood.
laws.
Covenant laws, that's right. And so you want to make sure that if you buy it, you can actually rent it. And you're going to want to look at the maintenance. How old is the heating and cooling units? How old's the roof? How old's the dishwasher, the hot water heater? Because if you had to replace, let's just assume that you're making $200 a month in rent. And so that's $2,400 a year. That your profit's $2,400 a year. And the heating and cooling unit went out, and you had to put a $5,000 system in. It would take you 2 years just to recoup that cost. So you want to make sure that the systems, the major systems of the property are in good working order and know what the life expectancy is. You also want to know what the taxes are, how much insurance would be. So there's a lot of things that you need to look at when you're about to go into being a landlord and owning a rental property. The other thing that I would tell you to do is, are you just looking for one property or 10 or 20 or 50? Because if you own 10 plus properties and an air conditioning system goes out, it's a lot quicker to recoup from owning multiple properties because you have additional streams of income coming in to offset that.
Yeah, because if you're just getting one, you definitely want to make sure it's viable. And then you also have to consider someone might destroy something, and if you're only making $2,400 a year off of it, your expense for repairs may end up a lot more.
Correct. Right. And just another tip on this, as a rental, you can pick up a home warranty on that property. That home warranty will cost between $500 and $800 a year. And you could require that the tenant be responsible for the first $100 in repairs, which is most warranty deductibles. And so you could buy an insurance policy if one of those major mechanicals went out.
Okay, that'd be good. Do you have rental properties, Lee?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Good.
Matter of fact, I would encourage everybody, if as a college savings plan, if you have the ability, when your child's born or one of your family members has a newborn in the family, if you could afford to buy a rental at that time, by the time they graduate high school, they're 18, that rental should be paid for, and which would provide an income, or the property could be sold and could provide for their college education.
Great expert tip. Thanks. Miss Lane over on Facebook asked, "Hi Lee, do you also help with land purchases?"
Land purchases is not my expertise. I do know how to do them, but I prefer to work with residential single-family style housing. I typically will refer people out to a local land broker when they're looking for land.
All right. Next question from the Ask the Experts page. Many properties have an easement. Are there any specific rights that a homeowner should know when it comes to easements?
Okay. Easements, disclaimer, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not giving legal advice. But easements, you have three main types of easements. You have a gross easement, which is what most utility easements are. And when I say utility easements, I'm talking about like cable and phone and the utilities that come to your house. That easement is typically part of a gross easement, and it stays with the property when it's sold. Okay. It has no real negative impact on the property itself. You have a my mind just went blank. A appurtenant easement, which is an easement where what's called the dominant property, the dominant property has a right-of-way across someone else's property. A lot of times this is like a driveway, and driveway crossing your driveway crossing someone else's property so you can get home. That easement could have a negative impact, and you need to make sure that type of easement is recorded, because if it's not and there is a dispute, then you may have to legally fight for your right-of-way across someone else's property to get to your property.
Okay, good. Let's see. Does the value of mobile homes depreciate like an automobile? Would my land and mobile home be appraised together if I decide to sell?
There's multiple answers to that question.
Okay.
First, I would need to know more information, but right off the top, a mobile home that is not affixed to a piece of land, just a mobile home by itself, is considered almost like a recreational vehicle. Matter of fact, when they bring them in, they're on axles, and which means you can move it anywhere you want to. If it's not permanently attached to the land, then yes, it will appreciate like an automobile will. If it's affixed to the land and then the land and the mobile home are sold together as a residential dwelling, permanent residential dwelling, then a lot of people think mobile homes always depreciate. That's not the case.
Okay.
It can appreciate in value. The biggest challenge on mobile homes is getting financing. It is difficult to get a traditional mortgage on a mobile home that is multiple years old. So, and because of that, people a lot of times will wind up selling their mobile home and land for less than what they could if it was a site-built property, site-built house.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So can people do renovations to mobile homes that appreciate the value? You said they can appreciate. So is that how?
Yes, they can do renovations to the mobile home, provided that, again, it needs to be permanently affixed to the land.
Gotcha.
that is there. If you had a mobile home in a mobile home park where you rent the lot, then chances are your mobile home's going to depreciate.
Okay. All right. A question from Facebook, Mr. Mazingo. How should I price my rental homes?
Great question. And first, you should look at the comps around the area to see see what the other homes are selling for. Second, we're not looking for a market value as if you're selling it to another individual. We're looking for what type of income is that property generating. If you have a $100,000 asset that's generating $2,000 a month, then you very well would have a rental. You have a business, and as a business, it's worth more than just a standalone property for someone to live in because it generates income. So we would really need to look to see what the surrounding properties are doing, what your rental basis is, how much rent you're bringing in, what your expenses are. A good rule of thumb, if the rental income is 1.5 times the mortgage amount, monthly mortgage amount, that's a good investment.
Okay. Good math tip there. All right, back to questions from the Ask the Expert page. What is the biggest piece of advice you have for first-time home buyers?
Hire an agent. Hire a real estate agent.
Guide you through the process, right?
Yes. Is my name up here somewhere?
Somewhere.
Okay, yes. Hire a good real estate agent. Seriously, the first thing that a first-time home buyer needs to do is contact a mortgage company. Find out what they qualify for.
Pre-approval.
Pre-approval.
Right.
Find out what you qualify for, because the last thing in the world you want to do as a first-time home buyer is contract to buy a property, be committed to buy that property, find out that your mortgage is $300 a month higher than what you want to pay, and you become house broke. In other words, the only thing you can afford to do is go to work, go home, eat ramen noodles, go to work, go home, eat ramen noodles. You want to be able to afford to live. So contact a mortgage company first, get pre-qualified, then get with a real estate agent and describe your needs, what you're looking for, tell them how long you think you'll be there, and look for a good investment and a good fit for you. I mean, if you have a dog, you may want a big backyard with a fence. And if, as a first-time home buyer, if you buy that home and doesn't have the fence, and you need, and a fence is $20 a linear foot to put up, you need to make sure you have the money to pay for that fence. Otherwise, your dog will be living inside, which is okay.
And surveyed land to put that fence on, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So really and truly, first-time home buyers, I really believe you need some guidance, and you should hire an agent that has your interest at heart.
Not biased at all, right?
Not at all.
Great advice.
No.
All right, next question. Is it harder for a couple that isn't married to purchase a home together?
No.
Okay.
No. A lot of people think that, but typically the answer is no, because both parties can go into the mortgage company. They can make application for the same loan for the same property, and the mortgage company will count both incomes. They'll look at both people's debt to income ratios and qualify based upon based upon both of them make an application.
Okay. So it's actually not hard to get the mortgage together, but be sure you want to keep that mortgage together because it's a lot harder to get both names off of a deed than than it is to put on it.
It is like when you're buying a home, it's like buying a business or running a business. It's a partnership, and if you decide you're not friends anymore, your non-friend, if you unfriended them on Facebook and you want to unfriend them at home,
it's not as easy as
it's
clicking
just not
the
that easy.
unfriend button. So, okay, great. How much money should you have saved to comfortably begin the home buying process?
Well, it depends on if you listen to Dave Ramsey or not. Dave Ramsey says you should save as much as you can and pay cash for everything, right?
We strive to do those things.
Yes. So let's look at the minimums. A minimum down payment, unless you're getting a grant or a down payment assistance, is 3.5% for a FHA style loan. If you're a veteran and you could use your VA loan, you might be able to get in with no money, and there's a USDA product, rural housing product, where you can get in with no money. But traditionally, you want to, a good rule of thumb is make sure you have 3.5% down for your down payment. I would encourage you to have as much as possible. At 20% down, you're able to obtain a loan without having a mortgage insurance premium. And mortgage insurance premiums, that can be in excess of $100 a month, and that's a premium where you're paying the mortgage company a monthly fee in case you default on your loan. And if you default, that mortgage insurance premium you've been paying will make the mortgage company whole. Well, most people don't buy a house with the intent to lose it.
Right.
So why pay $100+ a month in a premium if you can put 20% down?
So putting down 20% or more, you don't have to pay the insurance premium monthly.
Correct.
And that's a monthly charge.
That's a monthly charge, absolutely.
Okay. And then 3% at minimum, is that what you said?
3.5.
3.5, okay. All right. How much should a first-time home buyer put down for a down payment? Probably the same.
Same question. Great. So just one more time, first-time home buyers, remember we talked about earlier in the segment, we talked about Mississippi Home Corp and the Smart Solutions, the MRB7, those type of programs. You can go in and you can have the down payment money provided to you through a loan or a grant type setup. But 3.5% is what you would need to save if you're not using one of those programs.
Okay. Now, our next question is a very popular one. We've had it submitted several times. It is, what kind of credit score do I need to buy a house?
Okay. 580 if you're doing an FHA credit score. A lot of lenders really prefer 620 or higher. If you're doing a conventional loan, you're going to need 620 or better. To get a premium rate with the lowest mortgage insurance premium, if you're not putting 20% down, if you have a 740 or higher credit score, that's considered excellent credit. So you will be looked upon more favorably with the amount of money you'll need from a down payment perspective, what your interest rate would be, and the total cost of the loan.
Okay, so the better and the higher the score, 740 at least, you get even a better down payment than even more so than interest. I thought you just saved interest. So that's you get more options. Okay.
Yes.
Good. What are some good tools to help me find out what kind of house I can afford?
Did we already talk about using an expert realtor?
A little bit.
Best tool. I think probably what you're looking for is how do you determine how much payment you may afford. There's tons of mortgage calculators online. I use one on my phone. I have an app on my phone called Power Plus, Power Calculator Plus. Using that's how I determine a person's mortgage amount. So you can also go to Zillow or Bankrate or Lending Tree or any number of sites and pull up a mortgage calculator to see what your payment would be, approximate payment would be. I'm going to caution you though, if you go to if you go to one of these websites, especially if it's a website that is sponsored by lenders, and if you submit your information, make sure you're not giving them permission to pull your credit.
Okay.
Because some of these companies, and I'm trying to refrain from using names, some of these companies, when you give them permission to pull your credit, they actually have multiple lenders pull your credit at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And those multiple pulls could definitely negatively impact your credit score.
Yeah, I believe it goes down about 3 points each time your credit's pulled, depending
So-
on who's pulling it, right?
So yes, and if you go to a site where they have 8 different lenders pull your credit, that's a significant drop, and that could be the difference between you buying a house and not.
Having to wait and pull it back up.
So I love local lenders because local lenders are they're not going to if you go to a local lender, you can sit down, have a conversation with them, and they'll be able to give you advice before they ever even pull your credit.
Good. Okay. Is buying a houseboat different from buying a home on land?
Did I submit that question?
It didn't have a name on it. So.
I can remember when I was a teenager, I thought that I wanted to live on a houseboat.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything then, and I thought it would be really cool, and I still think it would be cool.
Uh-huh.
The answer to the question is there's a significant amount of difference. One of the things is being able to obtain financing for a houseboat.
Okay.
The financing is different than being able to finance a site-built residential property. So you're going to want to make sure you contact a variety of lenders, banks, to see what it's going to take to qualify for that houseboat. The other things that you need to consider in buying a houseboat are there marina fees. Are you paying a rent for the slip and utilities there? What about the parking? Are you going to have ample parking for your vehicles? And you can use a houseboat as a second home, and you can get some interest rate. You can write some of the interest off on using a houseboat, and it could be considered a second home or a primary residence. But there is a lot of differences there, and the first thing I would do is contact a lender, because the last time I checked, a 20-year loan is about all you could do on a houseboat.
Okay. All right. This is a long question here. We often hear that it's either a buyer's market or a seller's market. If I am both selling my current home and buying another, are there pros and cons to both market conditions since I am both buying and selling? To ask it another way, does it make any difference at all if I'm buying and selling in a buyer's market versus a seller's market?
So it's a catch-22, right? You're wanting to sell your home so that you can buy a home, and if it's a seller's market, then chances are you're going to get more money for the home you're selling, but that means you're going to pay more for the home you're buying.
So maybe, hopefully, it evens out.
So, or if it's a buyer's market, then you're going to probably sell your home for less, but then you're going to get a better deal on the home that you're buying.
Okay.
So let's think about this. When you bought your home originally, was it a buyer's market or a seller's market? If it was a buyer's market when you bought your home and today is a seller's market, then you've probably got a significant amount of equity in your home, and it's worth the most it's going to be worth in a seller's market. So it'd be a great time to sell it.
Right.
And then you'll be able to spend that equity over into your new purchase to fit your immediate lifestyle or whatever you're wanting to accomplish. So, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Do which deal is best, obviously. And most often are people, when they're selling, are they often turning around and buying, most likely?
Yes, most people. A lot of agents miss this, and this is something that I laugh at a lot of times. A lot of agents, when they get a phone call from a buyer, they totally forget that most buyers are sellers, and they have a house to sell. So yes, most buyers have a house to sell, and most sellers, unless they're going in the ground, they're going to need a place to live. So most sellers are buyers.
And speaking of buyers and sellers, you're both a buyer, seller, lister, agent. You're all of that. So
Yes.
how can people get in touch with you and find out more?
You can go to our if you're a buyer, my favorite site to send you to is buy601.com, buy601.com. If you're a seller, you'll get more information about the selling process at leewillbuyit.com, or just call me, 601-983-1130.
Great. Okay. And Lee Garland will be back with us in 3 weeks. That's August the 17th. Tomorrow, we will have Dr. Harris from Baptist Heart. That's at 10 a.m. Please visit our Ask the Experts page on WLBT.com to view the live schedule and send your questions for all our experts. Lee, thanks so much for coming in today. You had lots of questions and great advice for everyone.
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, thank you. I'm Kelly. This is WLBT's Ask the Experts. Have a great day.